Ballroom was not an escape for me. It was a safe haven for me.
Ballroom is an extension of the larger civil rights movement.
We were our own safety net at a time that we needed safety.
Ballroom has literally saved people's lives. It has found people family.
To see people of color do something they love to do, that's where I want to go, that's where I want to be. It's not just voguing. People did this to survive. The only way that they could feel free was to vogue.
Language about ballroom is now in mainstream. All the sayings, all the lingos, beard, shade, all of these things, all of that comes from ballroom.
We're from this culture. We're from this tradition. Where did you get the stuff? Where did you get dressed? How did you put it together? You didn't walk up and down the street with it. Oh, so you have another life.
This world was made for me too, honey.
You better not disappoint.
Round of applause, a round of applause for that video. I have a special guest with me right now. You guys recognize the face? So this isn't a normal part of, you can sit where you want. This isn't a normal part of this panel. But yes, shout out for Gabrielle Union, right? But, you know, as the founder of the Can Diversity Collective, and, you know, I'm taking a right of privilege right now, but I did clear it with Gabrielle. So if you don't know, Gabrielle represents the first family of Inkwell. Who was here in 2019? And yes, Raven, my Raven here, you were here, yes. And Gabrielle brought her entire family to Inkwell, like the entire family to Inkwell. So we are officially, we're calling you like the mother, the official, like the first family of Inkwell is what we're representing here. So please, a round of applause for the first family of Inkwell. I want you to share with us sort of that first experience that you had when you were here, and why is it important for you to be back here on the stage in 2024. The first time you were here was in 2029, and it was so important for you to be here with us. But if you could just just give your initial impressions of what it was like then, and why it's important for you to be back now.
It felt like home. You know, out of everything that's going on in Cannes Lion, this is one of the places where I felt 100% comfortable, 100% protected, and 100% welcome. And then, not to mention, Chef Big Country. Is Big Country somewhere in the vicinity? I mean, the fact that at the end of a night, even after we were on stage, they would hold plates for us so we could come eat. That's not happening anywhere else. But it's the community that was formed, and when you guys invited me back, there was no way I wasn't showing up. Listen. This man is a genius in the kitchen and a better man in life.
Shout out.
Yes.
Big Country.
Yes. Make sure you have his food, please. Yes. Thank you.
So we...
Big Country. Listen, no exaggeration. Please go eat his food. I came back every day that we were here so we could eat.
So I don't want to keep you from the amazing panel that you're going to participate in, and people are really here to share. And thank you, Google, for bringing Gabrielle back with us. But I just want to just celebrate you and thank you for coming back, and just let people know this is a place of home and coming back. And, you know, when you have leaders like Gabrielle and the work that you're doing, your family's doing, I know that's one of the reasons that Dwayne's not here, because they're doing some great work in Milwaukee, so celebrate what they're doing there. But we are a community of inclusion. And to be able to have you come back is just such a tribute to your commitment to the community and our commitment to you. So thank you so much for coming back. And now I'm going to introduce the rest of the panel to come up for your next panel of inclusive storytelling, celebrating belonging. Bring up Jonathan Johnsongriffin and Kingsley Ben-Adir. Give them a round of applause.
All right. It's good to be at the beach, seeing all these beautiful faces. My name is Jonathan Johnsongriffin. I am the Vice President of Creative at Google, and we're here to talk about inclusive storytelling and celebrating belonging. And so I'm here with these two amazing individuals who we'll get into in a bit here. But I think I wanted to honor the moment that we're in. We're in Cannes, celebrating creativity, which I'm always passionate about. But also, we're in Pride. You know, June is significant to us, right? We started with that ballroom film for a reason. You know, that ballroom film is special to me. That was one of the first things I worked on with our team at Google when I got to Google a year and a half ago. And it was a partnership with Willie Ninja. And it was really about telling stories and not losing the origin stories of a community like ballroom that is so important. So let's give it up for ballroom for a second.
Yes.
Also in June, on Wednesday specifically, we will celebrate Juneteenth. Juneteenth is also really special for us because it marks the end of slavery officially in the United States, when the last slaves were ultimately freed. And I think that, you know, this is something that's not often talked about, but we will celebrate that as well here on this beach. And on Wednesday, we'll have some great program to share with you all. But today, we're going to talk about inclusive storytelling. We're going to celebrate belonging. And so with that, I want to do some special introductions. You know, I want to put some specialness and some pride on these names up here I sit next to. So first, I'm going to introduce Kingsley Ben-Adir. Kingsley Ben-Adir is a British actor known for his powerful portrayals in roles such as Malcolm X in One Night in Miami and Bob Marley. Yeah, let's give it up. Absolutely. And Bob Marley in the biopic Bob Marley, One Love. His dedication to authenticity and storytelling brings diverse narratives to life, making him a standout talent in the industry. Please let's give it up for Kingsley Ben-Adir. And to my right, Miss Gabrielle Union. She's an acclaimed actress, author, and advocate. Her career spans over 2 decades with notable roles in films such as Bring It On and the series Being Mary Jane. Beyond acting, Gabrielle is a passionate advocate for women's health, the LGBTQIA+ community, equality, and violence against women. Let's give it up for Gabrielle Union. So I'll just give a little bit of a preface. So about 2 years ago, I left Nike to come to Google. And one of the reasons I was really attracted to Google was just the elements of inclusive storytelling and the impact that Google can have and has on the world. And so, you know, whether that be our products, whether that be our services, or whether it be the stories that we get to tell like Ballroom, the stories that we'll share with you towards the end around Black on Friday, shout out Keke Palmer.
Yes.
You know, that's what wakes me up in the bed in the morning. You know, I get out of the bed to tell our stories. And so this panel will be about that. It'll be about how they've brought to life a lot of our stories on the big screen. It'll be a little bit about some of the stories that I've been a part of in the past, but we're going to get into it. So hopefully that will inspire you out there as well to tell inclusive stories and celebrate belongings in your everyday. All right, let me get my paperwork together. All right, so Gabrielle.
Yes.
I'll start with you. Your career has been one showcasing the nuances of intersectionality identities and experiences. This has been portrayals of Black womanhood, specifically in Being Mary Jane. Also, in your role in Inspection, which explores profound themes of identity and acceptance of a young gay Black man. So my question for you to start this one off is, can you share how identity as a Black woman and as a fierce LGBTQIA+ ally has influenced your career and the roles you've chosen?
Yeah, I can't separate. Like, I get this question a lot. They're like, what comes first, your Blackness or your womanness? And I'm like, it's a tie, because that's who I am. They're intertwined. I also can't separate the fact that I'm a mom. of a child in the LGBTQIA community. I can't separate my activism from my soul. It's just a part of me. I can't separate my humanity for anything. So when I choose roles, or when roles choose me, they know what they're getting. I come as advertised. You know what I mean? And I wish I had the luxury of, oh yeah, I don't have to think about race. It's just the character. And I'm like, well, I'm being cast to play a black woman, so it's in there. Absolutely. It's in there. But yeah, it's all together. And when I started my production company, I'll Have Another, our mantra is centering the needs, wants, desires, dreams of the marginalized communities. So whether that be the idea of you that has sort of taken the world by storm, I never let anyone forget that it's written by a black woman, Robin Lee. And my goal, because I love the book and I love my friend, was hopefully we could do a movie that leads you back to the book. And when Robin's book hit #1 on Amazon, I was like, okay, my job is done. When our trailer set records for trailers, I just kept thinking, a black woman did this. And my love of her and my love of our community led to Annie Hathaway and Nicholas and Michael Showalter and all these other things. But don't ever forget, it starts with a black woman. Those characters you love were created by a black woman. Or all the way to a film I'm about to start in Stockholm, which is a coming-of-age story of a black girl who is a closet great hip-hop dancer and finds her way and re-solidifies her relationship with her mother through a jitterbug dance camp in Stockholm, which is a real thing. You can't separate it out. And everything that I touch has to be rooted in who I am. Roles, projects, they all go together.
That's awesome, and that should be celebrated. I mean, that
it should be.
It should be celebrated.
Not always.
It should be celebrated.
Yeah.
No, I thank you for that. I think that's something that I've often thought about as well. I bring my whole self into everything I do, right? I can't leave the passionate black Jonathan from Louisville, Kentucky at home when I go to work every day. That is with me every single day. And I think that, again, I say that should be celebrated because this is a place where we're celebrating belonging and inclusion. And I think you all out there will help us continue to make sure this is the place where we can bring our whole selves to really bring the value that we bring into everything that we do, whether it's music, whether it's film, whether it's marketing. That's the point.
Especially in marketing.
Especially in marketing.
You all know that.
All right, Kingsley.
Yo.
I'd love to pivot over to you for a bit. I mean, something that we were talking about on our call is the importance of representation and elevation of stories and important figures in history. Mm-hmm. Malcolm X built relationships with younger generations of African, Asians, Middle Eastern folks that were going to Oxford and different universities. Mm-hmm. Bob Marley had the song "Get Up, Stand Up," which is an anthem for our culture. To stand up for what you believe in. The question I have for you is, what kind of research do you undertake to portray historical figures accurately and bring their long-lasting impact to life?
Wow. Boy. I guess the first thing I do is I go, how much time do I have? And I say that because I look back and with one night in Miami, someone dropped out. And I had just under 2 weeks to prep. So you go, how'd you prep Malcolm in 2 weeks? How'd you read all of that material? Where do you start? And then with Bob, I guess there was 9 months. And I had access to everyone, all of his family, all of his friends. So many stories and people who knew him. So I was very lucky in that with Malcolm, I didn't speak to anyone. I just had YouTube and I was just kind of figuring it out. But I guess what's similar is the first question you have to ask, well, I ask myself anyway, is what's the story about? And it's in its purest essence, what is the story about? And then once you figure that out, and it sounds easier than that can be tricky sometimes because not everything's that well written. But once you've found a kind of thematic statement or like an idea around what the story is, then you can start building the person within it, you know? And I think with Bob, you know, biogs are hard. They're really hard because they hit a lot of similar beats and people are going for different reasons and they want to celebrate Bob's music and they want to be in the music, but as an actor you need to find the story. And I think it was about trying to find, with Malcolm and Bob, what it is about them that made them people. Like, what it was about both of them that made them vulnerable, really. And like, they're heroes to so many people and they become these posters and these like representations of these huge ideas, but really they were just guys. And so, yeah, it's really about finding vulnerability. And then I guess talking about kind of like cultural authenticity, and with the Jamaican patois, that was really the whole journey of that movie. Like, as you listen to Bob, and I listened to him for hours and hours and hours, you keep getting to a place with the language where you're like, oh, there's still so far to go. I kept getting closer and closer to the shoot date, and I wasn't fluent in this thing called Jamaican patois. And it was kind of an emergency to me because I go, if I get this wrong as a non-Jamaican, this is really serious cultural appropriation. So like, we have to figure this out. It really felt like an emergency. It really felt like life or death to me because I've grown up with Jamaicans and I knew how they was gonna come for me if I mashed it up. So like, thankfully, like, that was one movie where I was like, I found that character with the community. Like, there's no possible way as a non-Jamaican, like, you can play Bob without a 98% Jamaican cast, without his family there, without Neville Garrick, who was with Bob at the time in Jamaica, like, was literally surrounded by Jamaican musicians who, half of whom were Rasta, and believed that Bob's spirit was there with us. So like, the whole energy of the piece came to life with the community. So I guess that kind of speaks for itself in terms of the importance of inclusion and having everyone around. I mean, I wouldn't touch a Bob Marley movie without the family's involvement anyway, but, you know.
That's amazing, though. I mean, I think, like, I think about that, and I relate that to even my process, and maybe the process for a lot of folks in here is, like, getting the authenticity is hard, but that's the hard work we have to do.
100%.
Right? Like, to tell our stories right, authentically, with equity, with impact. There's a lot of co-creation involved.
100%.
There's a lot of respect and nuances that are involved that sometimes we only see that others may not see, that we need to make sure the world sees, and that they're respected. But like, that's the hard work that like we have to do.
And I think, and looking back, I go like, it's also okay to say, I don't know, you know? Like, you need to do as much preparation as you can to come in and be the expert on your character in that world, but to also go like, you don't have all of the answers as well, and it's a collaboration. And when I tell you, Ziggy and Neville, they rescued us every other hour with like cultural details. Right. Neville would just be like, no man, Bob wouldn't say it like that. You ever try it like this? Or do that? Or like, just down to the finest details. Like, even when Lashana comes up to the room, there's a scene where Lashana comes up to the room and Bob goes, "Oh, you frightened me, man." And then he says, "You did a long time." And that was like, that was never in the script. That was just something that like Ziggy and the Jamaican said, if you want to make it feel more Jamaican, you do that. So it's kind of like, I rate the studio as well, because they must have been terrified. They was like, we're not subtitling this movie. And most of the Russians, they didn't know what we were saying. So we really relied, in the edit, it was really about finding the emotional storytelling and trusting that the audience will get that. You don't have to understand every line, but you'll understand the emotional like flow of each scene, and you'll just pick it up. So
absolutely, absolutely, amazing. I love hearing those stories. You know, I love hearing those stories about the nuances that, like, we respect and we make sure are told in the right way. You know, I think, Gabrielle, I want to pivot back over to you. So you've been a vocal advocate for social causes, including women's health, and stigmas that have continued to persist. My question for you is, how do you integrate your advocacy work with your career in the entertainment industry and lend your voice to dismantling this?
I'm just unafraid. And somewhere around 40, I just emptied my basket of Fs. And again, you cannot separate me from my humanity and me fighting for humanity. And a lot of my activism comes from a very personal place, right? I want to make sure that my daughter and people in her community have every opportunity and safety and protection, you know, as she does. If I'm going through perimenopause or menopause, I want people to have the same access to information and resources and doctors that I have. And certain things that I talk about, certainly racial equality and black liberation, then people are like, I was with you on the breast cancer, but black liberation, what do you mean by that? And that's where it gets a little tricky. But you cannot separate me from what makes my soul sing. And our freedom makes my soul sing. So I'm going to do everything in my power to make that happen. And so far, I've just gotten more. So for all the people who kind of run scared and it's like, well, you know, I don't know what my boss is gonna think, I don't know what my company's gonna think. I think what has worked, thankfully, is truth and authenticity and standing 10 toes down on my belief that humanity should be the thing that leads us all. And I just cannot separate it. You cannot, it's like separating me from my child. You cannot do it. And where other people get afraid, I'm like, okay. Like when I go to speak to different groups, I've spoken at Google, I do breakout groups. And I'm like, tell me the tea here. And then I will encompass that into my remarks. So it's coming from me and not y'all. Right. And it's that kind of standing in the gap, real allyship, and linking arms with amplifying that I love to do. Because if I'm in this position and I know somehow I just keep getting more, let me bring as many people along and speak for as many people as I can who literally lack the voice within the machine. So as long as I have breath, I'm gonna be talking my shit.
Absolutely.
That's just what it is.
I love what you said. You reminded me of just, I remember younger in my career, it was a lot harder to do that, you know, just trying to find myself. Like you said, you talked about the 40 mark. I think I might have pivoted at the 40 mark myself. But, you know, I find myself in a lot of conversations with young folks trying to help them learn how to fight, you know, because, like, there's a way to do it and still be yourself, but still be able to get to where you want to get, that fierce voice, that inclusive voice that welcomes even more people to the party. I think about, like, and I want to say that just because, like, the stage that she gets to share, it may feel different, but best believe, like, y'all out there, like, we have opportunity to change the world. Like, we do. I think back at, like, campaigns like the Just Do It Colin Kaepernick campaign. When I worked on that, it was hard. But there was a way that we had to get that out, and when we got that out, it impacted the world. Same thing with the ballroom piece. Mm-hmm. You know, we went all the way. And it took folks sitting in seats like Gabrielle's seat to help us get there, but we got there. And best believe, there's folks, there's other Gabrielles out there that sit in the offices that you work in, or maybe they don't sit in the offices, but maybe they sit next door. And if you tap them, they're willing to help, you know?
Now, when it comes to the work, as y'all know, all skin folk ain't kinfolk, you know? All kinfolk ain't skin, you know what I'm saying? All skin folk ain't kinfolk. And they separate themselves rather quickly. So luckily, they identify themselves. But there's a point where you have to say, what is the price of my soul, right? Like, what's that dollar amount? We all have bills, we all have our aspirations, but what is that amount that I will trade what I know to be right and what I know to be right for the largest group of us? What is that price? And for some, that price is quite low. And you're like, I see you, I get it. I will not turn to you, or I'm not able to turn to you because you have financial responsibilities. But then there's those people who have made it. Like there's nothing anyone can do to them at this point. We need those people to lead and lead way far out in front of us. So those of us who don't have the luxury of saying all the things that are needed to be said to move the machine, we need y'all. And so if you are out there and you have that space, please, please do the right thing. And my barometer is, can I sleep at night? And if I keep waking up and it's that thing that keeps me up, I got to talk on it. And it will absolutely cost me opportunities, but then those aren't the opportunities that I want to be with anyway.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with that more. Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of in that same breath, Cannes is the home of creativity, or at least this week it is. We're celebrating that. How do you believe inclusive storytelling can impact the creative industry?
Well, follow the money. If you don't believe it's just right to have more inclusive storytelling, it's lucrative. You look at I don't even know what number of movie we're on, Fast and Furious 17. It's the most diverse cast, and they just make billions and billions and billions. It's not a bug, it's a feature, right? If you're whatever products you're selling, if you're trying to sell them to a global audience, you want to populate your companies with people that represent the world. It's just good business. So that goes from products to storytelling. The more people you want to reach around the world, you want everybody's monies? Well, make sure your cast look like everyone you're trying to reach. It's just good business. It's just common sense. And again, if you don't want to do it because it's the right thing, do it because it's going to line your pockets.
Absolutely. In that same breath, I remember the first time I came to Cannes, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. I was with Nike, and I had never been here before. I was in the festival at the stage, seeing all the awards, and then Google's Black on Friday campaign came on. And I literally was like, I got to go work there. I got to be a part of that some kind of way. Like, it impacted me to that level. But it was inclusive storytelling at a level that, like, I wanted to aspire to. And just a shout out, we're going to talk about Black on Friday here in a second. I believe you've been a part of the Black on Friday execution as well with the business that you started. And so I just think that, like, I love your point around, like, if you build it, they will come, People are going to come.
Coming.
Exactly.
You're leaving money on the table by ignoring marginalized communities. You're leaving money on the table by not trying to reach the African continent, the continent of Africa, which I don't know why I have to remind myself to say the continent. It's not a monolith. My girlfriend Pearl here, she's a phenomenal actress. Hopefully you all saw her show on Netflix, Queen Sono.
Absolutely.
But it's important to reach all the countries. It's important to reach as many parts of the world as possible. If you really want your stories to sing, there's so many stories. We don't have to keep rehashing, the same IP. There's room for original stories that star us and people like us around the world. But
absolutely.
What do I know? I just go to the bank,
Kingsley, back over to you. How important do you think it is for film, the film industry, to represent diverse narratives and diverse storytelling?
Very, yeah. It's really important. I mean, just as an actor, or as a young actor coming through, I look back and I go like, oh wow, I didn't realize how much I was watching Idris, or like how I was watching him. Like I was watching him with a very specific eye. What's his age? when did he get that break? Like, how long did it take him? How did he do it? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I look back because of conversations like this, and I go, wow, I was really lucky that Fresh Prince was a big show like that, and how we used to run home after school, run home to see Fresh Prince on a Tuesday at 5:30 after CBBC. Once a week. Once a week. But I look back and I go like, oh, it was important because I was, yeah, man. I mean, it just goes without saying. You can't just have one representation. You're like, subconsciously, you're telling people that this is the most important thing. If, like, when I'm coming up, it's like Downton and The Crown and like all. If it was just those shows, then like you're putting out the wrong message to young people. You know, I can see what it is now. This guy's bullshit. You know, and we need to change it up. But thankfully, I feel it's difficult because as you become more successful, more opportunities open up for you. So like as time's gone on, more opportunities have come my way, but it's kind of like discerning what those opportunities are. Like to look at how things have changed, you have to kind of take yourself out of it in a way. I do feel like I'm seeing younger people coming out of the drama school systems with more opportunities for casting. It's not to say there's not a long way to go. It does feel very different to when I came out. But yeah, we want to see, you know, it's going back to like the emotional vulnerability of these really powerful men, like, and Malcolm, trying to find Malcolm's vulnerability or Bob's vulnerability. It's really about trying to find something in them that's human, that connects all of us to them, you know? So I guess, yeah, more stories from more people and more places, just, yeah.
Absolutely. I think about, you mentioned not being able to separate your personal self between the opportunity, and you know, I have a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old, 2 little girls, so I missed them on Father's Day, which, you know, but thank you, I appreciate that. But, you know, I think about The Little Mermaid, you know, and like seeing that through their eyes and seeing a black Little Mermaid, like, amazing. You know, things are changing. And to your point, like, money will be left on the table if they don't change.
I mean, we're all here because of, you know, business and learning and networking, and this is what it's about. These are the things that we're offering. Right. The fact that they even dare to say that the movie was not a massive success, I'm like, compared to what? It's Hollywood. Compared to what? You know, I was at this meeting of, it was a bunch of the top actresses in Hollywood, and there was our black contingent, and it was really the only other minorities that were there. There was the black contingent and some Latinas. And Gina Davis's institute came and delivered data on the top paid actresses versus who should be the top paid actresses. Now, in this room, there are a number, probably about half of the top paid actresses are in this room. And on the other side, who should be, based on budget and return, do you know who was number 2? Regina Hall.
Wow.
Regina Hall. I was further down the list, in the double digits. But there were a number of us because we don't get the same budgets, but we overperform always. I did a movie where I literally lost money. I gave the bit of salary that I had to make sure that we could populate the movie with, you know, a bit more diversity. It ended up, they gave us it felt like 3 screens, right? And we were up against the big movie, there was a big movie with Melissa McCarthy. And that was the movie that was supposed to dominate the weekend. And per screen average, it wasn't even close. Breaking In killed it. Mm-hmm. With like a bag of Doritos as a budget. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, she can put butts in seats. And this is when people had to go to the theater. And I'm like, yeah, I've been doing it, but you guys don't count black movies. And I'm like, and it's funny because they don't count Bad Boys as a black film, right?
Excuse me?
No, And you look at the top, the first 8 people other than Joey Pantaleone, it's all people of color. And the top 3 in Bad Boys 2, it was, Will and Martin, me, and then it went down. Therese Randall was in there.
Can we give it up for that movie? That one of my favorite movies.
Thank you. But it was interesting because they were like, black movies don't translate overseas. So that movie took me to London for the first time. And I was like, oh, I'm just gonna be anonymous because before this, I'm doing black movies. So they don't translate. Nobody here will know me. And I'm just a tourist, and I go to Piccadilly Circle, and I'm like, I see all of my movies being sold on the street.
Absolutely.
And everyone's like, and I'm like, wait, y'all know me? They were like, nobody knows your movies because we don't release them. And I'm like, well, they're here. And the love was immediate and real. And everywhere I went, obviously, there's black people everywhere in London, and in every city. I was like, oh, I'm home. What are y'all talking about? Yeah. This is a black movie, and people across the diaspora, they mess with us heavy. And just because Hollywood doesn't count black movies, the rest of the world does.
Absolutely.
And you're leaving money on the table, not casting us. So hopefully the more we, acknowledge black film and black filmmakers and black talent across the diaspora, hopefully they'll understand that we're bankable. Like look at the data. It's not my emotions. It's not a feeling. It's not an opinion. Go to the data.
Facts.
It backs it up.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just so we're clear, Kingsley was backstage just asking me about, she was in Bad Boys 2. I remember that. So it translates, It translates.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
So because you said, we mess with you guys. I grew up with you guys. We grew up. It's like hanging with Mr. Cooper, Sister. That was my childhood.
Keenan and Kel. Shout out to Keenan, who's here as well.
It was mainly, African American culture is a huge, huge part of my childhood. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, man, I don't want to stop talking about this. I feel like we just getting warmed up in the Cannes sun. We're doing this. Well, hey, look, as we wrap, I want to save some time for this last question from both of y'all, because I think this is one that, personally, I want to hear, but I think would be good for this audience. What do you believe is the most important step the industry can take to endure the diverse voices that are not only heard but celebrated, that need to be celebrated and empowered? What is the most important step our industry can take?
I don't know. I asked for that question a few days ago because that concerned me, that I didn't know the answer. I was like, that's a big question. I don't know. I guess if you're a producer or if you're a casting director or if you're a head of a drama school or if you're an actor or if you're a head of a department, it kind of depends what area. If you're the head of a studio, thinking as an actor, just as an actor with a capital A, I look back at, when I was at drama school or coming out of drama school and casting and getting agents and how difficult that process is, but also how unfair it felt as well, and those two things getting mixed up. So getting confused about industry's just fucking hard, but also there's a lot of things that didn't feel fair. When I was at drama school in 2011, I left. I think Michaela Cole was the first woman of color in 10 years that had been in that building. I mean, it's crazy. There were 2 black guys in my year, and that was a big thing. It's just, I find it really insane. And so now you go into Guildhall or something like that, the kids have come in and they just shook it up. They've got rid of a lot of the staff and they've changed it, and you go in, it does feel like much more of a representation of the UK that I know there at the beginning. And I mentioned drama school because they're they're the guys who guys and girls in 3 years, they're going to be coming through, and the agents are going to be picking them to put them in all of the, most important rooms in the business. And then 5 of them are going to be on the biggest TV shows in the world and film. So I'm looking at it from that place. And I know a lot of things have changed. I feel like with casting, and a lot of people ask me, like, do you think it was okay for you to play Bob Marley and you're not Jamaican and all of that? And I was ready for that question because I go, like, the first thing I said was, no, this is not for me. This is not right. Have they been on a worldwide search? Yes. They should go on another one. Try and find someone who's Jamaican. The family didn't find that person, and then they came to me. But there was a conversation around, has everyone had the opportunity to put their foot in the door, like properly? Not just like a pity tape. You know them tapes, you used to get them audition tapes where you're like, why am I taping for this? They're gonna give it to Leonardo DiCaprio. They just wanna say they've got everyone to tape for it. Like a real opportunity. So I don't know. I think as an actor, for me, I can't change. Like, there's only so much I can do. But like, I feel like just being really, really critical of every script that comes through my email, and like really trying to get to the essence of it. Like, what's it about? Why have you said that character needs to be this color? Does he need to, like, whatever? Just trying to like tighten up around story in a really intelligent way, and giving notes and feedback. But in terms of how to change the whole industry, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will say, and we were talking about this backstage, like my first time coming to Cannes, I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me. And now, even being in this Inkwell space, which I so appreciate, because Inkwell is a part of the change. Inkwell is a part of the industry, but Inkwell is also a part of the change. Because it provides a space for us to tell our stories. It provides us a space for you to share what you just shared. That's how the industry starts to change. I can tell you design and art school stories that are very similar.
Right.
Showing up to a design school and being like, I guess it's just me. Right. But I think when people hear that, like, that's what you went through, it's also inspiration for the next folks. I might be the first, but I'm not going to be the last.
Keeping the conversation keep talking.
Yeah, keeping the conversation going. Having places like this where it's a safe space to have that conversation, and for other people that may not experience or have that empathy to start that journey of empathy and understanding, and being able to, like you said, be your whole self. Not half step, a 100% Jonathan. So yeah, I'll ask the same question to you.
Yeah,
industry.
It literally takes us being a united front, first of all. I have a phrase that we call the people's champs. The people that the community actually mess with, right? Not necessarily the black folks that y'all are comfortable with. Because if they make you that comfortable, they don't represent us. So by leaning into the people's champs, by following the fearless, right? So, we came up in a certain generation of Hollywood, thinkers and movers and artists, and then here comes Issa Rae, right? And we're like, ooh, they gonna get her. Uh-oh, let's see what's gonna happen. They're like, oh no, they just gave her a bigger deal. Okay. She got another deal, and oh my, and she just is going. And then here comes Quinta. I'm like, oh girl, wait, we don't know if they just allowed Issa. And then here goes Quinta. And we're like, is it warm? Is the water warm? And now all of us are like, we can do it too. So there's like, you see Carrie is shining and thriving.
Absolutely.
You see Viola, you see me. We all have production companies that all have weight, right? And because we've been in the industry long enough, I know the budget that we deserve. Because I know what you're giving to somebody that's not proven to be, lucrative for your company. So we have the ability to demand more. We have the ability to look at the department heads. If I'm putting together a film that is rooted in, the marginalized communities, the crew needs to match, right? I can demand that. And when they say, oh, we looked, we just couldn't, hold on. Turns out, thank you, Ava DuVernay, Here's our Dead Sea Scrolls list of crew members of color. Like, I remember on LA's Finest, there were 2 Thai cast members. And when they saw each other, they cried. Because there'd never been more than one. And I was like, okay, people should be crying like Nettie and Seeley, on the job of a black-led project. Come on, we can do better. And it's constantly pushing, right? And if we don't have the courage, sometimes we don't, we gotta get there. Make sure you don't stand in the way of the people who are willing to do the job, right? Push from behind if that is where you feel safest. But don't stand in the way, don't allow yourself to be a black shield. Well, like so-and-so said, girl, we left her a long time ago. So be a part of the change, and if you're not strong enough, just push. But demand more. Once you have proven your mettle and proven that you can put asses in seats and proven that, this way of filmmaking, inclusive, leads to dollars, don't back down. Don't back down. That's the biggest thing. You just cannot back down. And the little bit of gains, keep pushing, keep your foot in the door. And once you get in, don't be like, well, I'm cool, I'm set. Trust me, you do not want to be the only person in the room. That is a lonely, terrible feeling. Because whatever seat you think you have at the table, good luck. Good luck. You want as many people as possible in the company, in decision-making positions. It's the only way. So there's executives like Amber Raspberry at Amazon. Girl, like when we were like, wait, so you can decide? Like you don't have to go to anybody. Oh, you guys, she's in there. She's for us. Yep. And that's what it takes. And Amber stands 10 toes down, and she goes to battle for our budgets and to approve unproven directors. But our unproven directors have a host of TV shows and, all kinds of content. They're not unproven. Just like you gave damn near $100 million budget to somebody who did an indie that didn't come in on time, like that their mama saw. But here's $100 million? Okay, let's not play these games. That's how you change it. That's how you bring more people in. And what are they gonna say? Because the dollars make sense. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's give it up for that. Well, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure hearing the stories. The people, you said the People's Champ?
The People's Champ.
The People's Champ.
People we want to see.
Yes. I'd take that one with y'all. And just hearing the stories, sharing stories, having a space to share our stories, the behind the scenes, how you got there. And even, again, like, I think about the Black on Friday piece that we're going to show. Pay attention to the very end of the film. There's a moment where the amazing Crystal Waters, if y'all don't know her, she's 100% black. She's the one who created the original song, 100% Pure Love. She co-created it with us. Keke Palmer's in it as well. And then there's a bunch of black-owned business owners. And it's at the end, and you could just see this moment of joy because it's the crew behind the scenes, it's the black-owned business owners, it's Keke, it's Crystal, all just celebrating. And to me, it's a little bit like the moment you just talked about where you realize that, like, we can all help each other out. And the People's Champs are right there in the room. So just building on that with each other. So I just want to say thank you, Gabrielle, for telling your stories and sharing the space. Thank you, Kingsley.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Absolutely. So real quick, before we close out and show the film, I just want to do a shout out because, like I said, Wednesday is Juneteenth. So y'all, we're going to need y'all to come back here at 9 a.m. because we're going to be celebrating.
You said 9 a.m.?
9 a.m. So whatever you do Tuesday, keep it low. But 9 a.m., we're going to be here to commemorate Juneteenth with a special Juneteenth edition of Google's inclusive leadership training called Human to Human. Think HBCU drummers, visual art, modern dance, vocalists, and violinists, along with a framework to help hack the hearts and minds and leaders in such a way that they can't go back and operate the way they had previously. In service of being a better leader for humans across lines of race, identity, culture, and heritage. y'all don't want to miss this one. It's gonna be a fun one, and I will be here. I'll be out there in those seats with y'all, enjoying it, learning, and celebrating. So with that, again, thank you. It's been a pleasure, and we're out.